Color is an integral element of our world, not just in the natural environment, but also in the man-made architectural environment. Color always played a role in the human evolutionary process. The environment and its color are perceived, and the brain process and judge what is perceived on an objective and subjective basis. And of course, color greatly affects the style of a building. But before that, let's see how architects use color in their work.
By science, color happens when light gets absorbed, reflected, scattered, and refracted by materials. Different action and reaction emit different colors. On nature, color is controlled by microstructure like tiny molecules and pigments. Pigments are the thing that give many things color, and they are everywhere. In flowers, leaves, skins, hairs, and in paint. There are billions of possible color combinations that you could use in a project, but that doesn't mean they are all good choices. It's best to get an understanding of the relationship that colors have with one another. There are 6 color schemes: monochromatic, analogous, complementary, Triadic, Split-Complementary, and Triadic. The first one, monochromatic. A monochromatic colors are all the color derived from a single base hue and extended using its shades, tones, and tints. Tints are achieved by adding white, while shades are adding more gray to the color, and tones are achieved by adding black. Up next, analogous. Analogous color schemes are a color combination made of neighboring color in the color wheel. Because of the physical closeness on the color wheel, they often look similar to one another, and therefore make a good-looking color scheme. Third one is complementary. This scheme consists of 2 very different colors and contradicts with each other. Complementary colors can be found on the color wheel by choosing one color and a color directly across from it. For example, amber and cyan, or maybe green and purple. Fourth, triadic. It provides strong color contrast similar to complementary scheme. The color combination is made from 3 evenly spaced apart color in the color wheel. You can make awesome color combination with Triadic if used correctly. Fifth, split complementary. It has 2 opposite colors that is next to each other. Split complementary is still heavily contrasted. Last one is tetradic color. Another name for this, yes, this is a lot to remember, is rectangular color. Because this color can be found by creating a rectangle on the color wheel.
Before we start to determine the colors of the building, think of hue as the color, saturation how intense the color is, and value as how light or dark it is. To build out a full complement of colors for architects use from the 3 primary colors, they add tints created by adding white to given hue, shades made by adding black, and tones by adding gray. Because the complement of colors will reflect back into a space. Color is a tool we can use, just like form, and we can emphasize certain intents to expand the sense of space using lighter colors or to demonize it using darker colors. Colors can distinguish the building system, like the materials, foundation, the structure, and etc. Color comes from the reflection of light that hits the objects in the room. It has different properties that influenced by the geographical location of the building. Color that we select will be affected by the kind of light that illuminates the color. It impacts how we feel in a space, how large or small it feels, how we find our way, and can even modify our behavior, affecting mental acuity, focus, and alertness. So, we have to adjust the amount of lighting that will enter the room and the layout of the object to maximize the result of the color. Colors help develop the culture and identity of a city or room. Like for example, red that illustrates the meaning of courage, white that illustrates the meaning of purity, green that illustrates the meaning of prosperity, yellow that illustrates the meaning of cheerful, blue that illustrates the meaning of stable, etc. The meaning of the colors can be used as a reflection of a place, so that people can understand what is the meaning of the place that they went by just looking at the color. See how important that use of color in architecture? We as designers must be wise and careful in determining the color of a design.
Ever look at a building and wonder if it's Bauhaus, or modernist style, or neoclassical? There are many architectural clues to consider, especially when a building has lived through several periods, gathering traits as it ages. We've selected 12 key styles and their characteristics to help narrow the playing field when out sightseeing.
Classical architecture was constructed in ancient Greece between the 7th and 4th century BC. It is best known for its large religious temples built in stone, designed from principles of order, symmetry, geometry, and perspective. A notable characteristic of its expressiveness are the principles of the architectural orders: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. The greatest work of classical architecture is the Parthenon.
The building of a cathedral tested the skills and ingenuity of the cathedral builders to the limit, yet the ideas and methods that they used had barely changed since Roman times.
Developed in Europe between the 6th and 9th centuries, this architectural style has a great relation to its historical context. In a period when European countries were at war and worried about protecting against invasions, the buildings, inspired by the Republic of ancient Rome, were characterized by heavy and resistant walls and minimal opening in semicircular arch. What we know now as Gothic architecture was originally named Opus Franciginum, or French work, as it originated in the late Middle Ages in France, between the years 900 and 1300. It was only during the Enlightenment that the name Gothic came about to refer to the vertical and majestic architecture produced in that period. The main Gothic works are related to ecclesiastical buildings, churches, and cathedrals with ogival arches and ripples. Beginning in the 16th century under a monarchist regime in Europe, Baroque architecture can also be seen in religious buildings, making use of ornaments and elements that sought to establish a dramatic sense. Especially by contrasting light and dark, Baroque architecture viewed structural elements as platforms for decoration. One of the early exemplars of this style is the Church of Gesù in Rome, which boasts the first truly Baroque facade. From the 18th century onwards, neoclassical architecture sought to revive classical Greek and Roman buildings. Its expression is strongly related to its social and economic context, the Industrial Revolution in Europe, and a period in which upper middle class students began the Grand Tour tradition, traveling around the world and coming into contact with ancient works. The revival of European cultural production brought an architecture oriented toward rational symmetry as a response to Baroque architecture. This movement continued until the 19th century and was manifested in various countries. This academic style originated in the Fine Arts School in Paris in the mid-1830s. It established a language that referred to other periods, such as French neoclassicism, Gothic architecture, and the Renaissance. However, it also employed contemporary materials such as glass and iron. Although it emerged in France, this style influenced American architecture and served as a reference to architects such as Louis Sullivan, the father of the skyscraper. In Europe, an important example is the Grand Palais in Paris, and in the United States, the Grand Central Terminal in New York.
Art Nouveau originally served as a guide to several disciplines, from architecture to painting, and furniture design to typography. As a reaction to the eclectic styles that dominated Europe, Art Nouveau manifested itself in architecture in decorative elements. The buildings, full of covered and sinuous lines, the chief ornaments inspired by organic shape such as plants, flowers, and animals, both in terms of design and the use of color. Art Deco emerged in France right before World War I, and just like Art Nouveau, influenced several areas of art and design, blending modern design and crafted elements and luxurious materials. The movement represented a moment of weird belief in social and technological progress in the continent. By combining incredible engineering prowess with rich symbolism, the architecture of the Egyptian will continue to be a model for centuries to come. Both ancient Greek and Roman architecture borrowed characteristics, such as stylized column motifs in early Greece and the proliferation of obelisks in Rome. Modernist architecture is an umbrella term for many different styles that become prominent in the first half of the 20th century and flourished after World War II. Above all, modernism was a rejection of the neoclassical, with a strong international push to move towards new trends that redefined society after the destruction of World War II. In the 1960s, the pendulum began to swing away from the austere, rigid design of modernism towards rediscovery of classical ideals. Postmodern architecture continued to flourish through the 1990s, with an increase of ornamentation and decorative elements. And here we are, arriving today with neo-futurism. Starting in the late 20th century, architects believed in the need to modernize by integrating new technologies, using eco-sustainable materials and high-tech integrations. Neo-futurist architects believe they can better the quality of the life for city dwellers.